So my kid told me that she wanted to make money. And is there anything I could do to make $1? It's interesting how to teach children about money because money has changed. And so today, Clint and I are here to talk about how to teach children about money. And we're gonna be sharing 4 specific principles and a couple bonuses at the end on what we do with our children in hopes that it will help you with yours. When I was young, I had to work for money. At a certain age, 9th grade, my parents said, if you want clothes, then use your paperboy money and go ahead and use that so that you can get some of the things that you want. I remember saving up money for a killer bike because obviously I was into that with my paper out. I was also really into taking hikes and doing backpacking and overnighters. So I bought myself a really nice inline backpack. And making money was a really important part of my particular childhood. My parents did want me to learn responsibility, but it also awoke something inside of me that has become a big part of my adult life.
So what we're doing with our kids now is we are instilling into them that entrepreneurial spirit early. And our oldest daughter, she's 11, almost 12, she's had the opportunity this year to really take that entrepreneurial spirit and make it blossom.
Yeah, because the question is, how do we really teach our kids how to earn money and make enough to make it worth it? And so, Clem, why don't you just share some of the things? There's 4 specific principles that we want to share today that have made money and kids, I think, fun and exciting. Why don't you just share some of those principles?
Well, the first principle is it's okay to try and fail. And do you remember a couple years ago what happened? So we went to this really big 4th of July parade, and our daughter wanted to make some money, and so Kris was like, okay, well, how about we, get a flat of water and we'll bring it to the parade and we'll hand out water and we'll make a little bit of money. And what happened?
We trekked up and down early morning, and maybe the sun wasn't out yet, maybe people weren't hot enough yet, but not a single person bought any water. And I remember feeling really pathetic inside, like, oh my gosh, I'm this successful entrepreneur and I suck at selling water at the parade. And my poor daughter, like I had built up this expectation with her. And the reality is that we came home with a lot of water.
Which we drank.
And, and I remember right after thinking, okay, we need to do something to create a good, positive experience with Lease, until I really internalized that one of the first things, she's our oldest, so she's our guinea pig. One of the first things I really want to teach is that that's actually the way business works. In fact, more things that I try don't work than things that do. And so I think it's important to set expectations with your kids in the first one. It's okay to fail. It's okay to try things. And some things will work and some things won't. And that's the excitement. That's the game of it. But never allow the result to beat you up. And how you implement that as a parent is by talking about it. It's meta communication. It's sitting down. I remember sitting down with Lisa and being like, wow, so how do you feel? Oh, I don't know, Dad. We didn't sell any. And I asked her, I said, do you think that's okay? She's like, is it? She was looking to me. And I got to have this conversation. Say, I've done a lot of things that don't work. And this is an exciting part about learning how to make money and valuing it. Because if it was easy and you made it every time, then you wouldn't probably value what it is. And therein lies a really important lesson.
All right, number 2, the next lesson is have fun. Have fun with your kids. Pick something that they like to do and they want to do. So, for example, this year, a new year, Kris and I decided to take Lisa on a trip to Peru. We took a group of people to Peru. We felt prompted that she should go with us and learn from that culture and learn from the things we were going to do. But we said, okay, but you have to learn, or you have to earn a certain amount of money to get there. And you get to earn it yourself. So she's very artsy-fartsy, like artistic, and she likes to make things. And so we decided to make some jewelry and do like a little jewelry business over the summer. So one of the things we did was we went to a farmer's market and we sold jewelry there. And she learned to make earrings, she made bracelets, she made necklaces, and she actually was really good at it. And it was fun. It was fun for her and I to bond and figure out how to make things and just really create something of beauty. And so we would sell things there. We would sell things on Facebook. And actually, it was her Facebook videos that really generated some income for her.
And I remember that some of the things didn't work very well, and some of the things worked extraordinarily well. But it was when you had committed to doing something that wasn't working that you gave birth to something really brilliant. Because I remember that she had been going out on Saturdays to one of the markets and would be there all day and would sell
She would
one or two
sell,
pieces of jewelry.
Yeah, 2 or 3 things.
And make $5, $10, $15, $20. And she would come home disappointed, wanting something different until there was the breakthrough.
Well, the breakthrough was have a why, which is our number 3. And when she would get on Facebook and she would do a minute or 2 video and she would tell people why she was earning money, that she wanted to go to Peru, that she wanted to go to the Amazon and she wanted to learn about the people and she wanted to hike a mountain. That is what got people to go, you know what, I would love to support you. Can I please have 2 pairs of those earrings? And so she would get, 3 or 4 or 5 orders for a 1-minute video. And it would be, Kate, let's go make them. And then the next day we'd ship them out. And then a couple days later, we would do another video. So it was the leverage through online plus the why, which is what got the money to come in for her.
And I just want to insert this. Something else that ended up being fun is I remember when one of the markets that you're doing on the weekends wasn't very successful, there was this idea. Hey, how about in between selling the jewelry, I do some face painting?
Because she's very good. She's very good at face painting for an 11-year-old. And so we set up this little stand right next to the booth, and it said free face painting. And moms and dads who are going to come along with their kids, they're not going to turn down free face painting, even though it's an 11-year-old. But when they were surprised that she was actually good, they were all just, tipping her. There's a little tip jar for her. And by the end of the day, she had $93 from just face painting in the shade of a beautiful tree and just playing around having fun.
Well, and what was interesting is that for Liesl, it wasn't fun to sit in the booth all day and watch people almost buy jewelry. It was fun for her to sit and do something that was a creative outlet.
Yeah.
So cultivate within your children what comes natural to them. Liesl has been face painting for a couple of years, just here and there, off and on, and would practice.
Her siblings.
And as an 11-year-old, you're only really so good, but she got better at it because she was encouraged. Your kids have things that they're natural at, so play to their strengths. I wouldn't focus on trying to make weaknesses strong. I would rather invite you to focus on where do they have natural aptitude, and then how can you monetize that? How can you give them a productive outlet for what their skill is? And this requires some creativity and maybe some Googling and really getting into their skill sets and, what comes natural to them? What's fun for them? What do they love and enjoy doing? Those are all really good questions to ask. So make sure also as the parent that you don't want it more for them than they want it for themselves, which really kind of leads to the 4th and final one. We've been talking about the fact that we want it fun. It's okay to fail. You got to have a why. And then the last one is celebrate. And celebrating it's very easy to be in the mode of self-constructive criticism of, what could I have done better? Or how could I have made more money? Or how could I have done this different? And just take a moment to acknowledge, even when Liesl would be there all day and made $10, it was, hey, you had an experience. You made $10. What did you learn? Congratulations. High five. Good job. Celebrating is something that we do not do very well in our society. We're always waiting for some fictitious destination to be arrived at when we can finally receive an accolade and say, I've made it and I've done a good job. Find joy in the journey along the way and celebrate the failures, the successes, the mediocrity, and focus on what's being learned and find value in that. One of the ways that Lisa also celebrated is after she made enough money for Peru.
She was in Peru. She was in charge of all her spending money, and it had to be at least $100. So she helped pay for her snacks. She helped pay for her souvenirs. And what was fun? Do you remember watching her in Peru?
Oh my goodness!
And
she was the little barter queen.
She was going through, the markets and looking at things she might want to bring home, and she would barter and she would compare and she would
walk.
She would pass on things
It's a
where
no
she's
answer.
like, I really like that, but I only have this much money and I think I'll probably like something better later. So she'd pass on it. And I remember she just wanted that stuffed alpaca made out of alpaca wool. And we were in this giant market and there were like 3 different vendors at the same one, and she came down one from like the equivalent of $30. She found one for $10, and she was willing. She actually tried walking, where it was, this is what I have for this. Oh, you won't take it? Okay, I'm leaving. And then she would walk away, and the guy was like, no, here, you can have it. And she came up to me going, Mom, I did it. I found it for the price I wanted.
Yeah.
She's just learning some great experiences and learning lessons.
I think the last thing that I want to share with you today when it comes to helping your children with their why, we specifically taught our children that you need to save money. You can do some things to have fun with money. And we also have our kids donate 10% to charitable cause. And this is something that Lease, she's got these 3 envelopes. And so after she saved up money for Peru, she was also able to buy a bike. In fact, I'm surprised this last year, I think she probably made $500 or $600 for an 11-year-old.
Well, do you remember what she did for Peru? So we found that in the Amazon. We were going to go to the Amazon, and they had a charitable cause there where you could buy school supplies and hygiene kits for these kids in the Amazon that don't have a lot. And with her extra money, she bought like a couple $100 worth of supplies for these kids, and she did it herself. And we went to the store and we shopped for it. And do you remember she brought all those kits on her own? It was awesome.
So I would say that teach your children to save. Set some of that aside for having some fun. That's, I think, part of the celebration of I'm going to actually enjoy some of the fruits of what I saved. We as adults do the same thing. And then number 3, teach them that principle of paying it forward, giving back. It's an expression of gratitude that you were able to make money. I mean, in our day and age, adult or child that is able to apply themselves and make money is something to be celebrated. And that means that you also possess some gifts, or that you've cultivated some skills that maybe didn't come naturally. And I think gratitude is a really beautiful way to associate and identify with money by way of principle and concept is be grateful that you were able to do this. Be grateful that you produce something that others perceived as a need that they're willing to pay for, and celebrate that. So those are the 4 principles that we want to share with you today on how to teach your children about money and start helping them have some beginner entrepreneurial experience, mostly so they can have fun, learn lessons, teach them as parents. It's okay to fail. It happens. That's actually failure is how you wake up one day and achieve a measure of success.
But I want to put in a plug for using careful wording around money and your kids. If they hear you saying, we don't have enough, we can't afford it, no, you can never have that, oh, we don't have money in our family.
Money doesn't grow on trees.
Like, that is just poison
to their mind,
to their little mind, for learning to be abundant and learning that they are in charge of their destiny and they are in charge of creating the wealth that they desire.
So have a conversation with your child or children and let them know money has no value other than what they decide. And all money does is it magnifies our belief system. So choose into a positive, healthy belief system. Choose into something abundant. Let them know that there's more than enough, and that some of the opposition and trials and difficulties that come with money are beautiful learning experiences that help them become wiser stewards, better stewards, and more successful stewards.
There's so much joy when the kids are able to buy something themselves with money they created. Sometimes when my kids ask me, can I have that? And I'll be like, well, no, you can maybe wait till Christmas and, ask Santa for Christmas, or wait till your birthday. Or if you want it sooner than that, how can you create that? How can you earn the money for that? Because I'm not just going to go buy them whatever they want, whenever they want. And when Lisa had more than enough money for Peru, for the hygiene kits, and then to buy her bike, and we went shopping. We went to 3 different places for the bike, and she found the best deal on the bike, and that's what she wanted to spend her money on. She cherishes that bike, and she loves that bike so much more than if I just bought it for her.
Yeah. So good luck teaching your children about money, and certainly comment below on the different things that you do that are successfully working, or comment below on some of the challenges that you're happening and ask for some help. Thank you so much for joining us today on Limitless TV. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and be sure to subscribe, because every day we're putting out new videos for you based on comments you're having, questions you're having. Listen, if it's related to money, wealth, real estate, mindset, the power of belief, we're going to be bringing it your way.
And have fun with your kids. Find something that they want to do. Help them earn money. Help them to create something that is of value and that they can find pride in, and that they can just have fun learning about wealth and abundance. So comment below, tell us what you're doing with your kids, tell us what they're doing to make money. We would love to hear it.
And we'll see you tomorrow.